jet lag, be honest. Oh, not too many. Good, okay. Well, I really am here to say thank you to AASHTO. And for those of you who may not know the gory details of how a bill becomes a law, it isn't easy. It isn't easy in a time when we can't even agree if it's actually raining outside or what time it is. You know, it's just one of those times in history. And so I'm very fortunate that I chose, when I first got to the Senate all those years ago, the year of the woman. I want to say to the women here, there's a few of you, good. There's a lot more than there used to be. I'm happy to see it. So when I got here, they called it the year of the woman. We tripled our numbers in the Senate. We went from 2 to 6. And at that very moment, I chose to go on the Environment and Public Works Committee because I had these passionate feelings about preserving the environment and making sure we had a solid infrastructure and good jobs and a safe transportation system. So fate threw me together with my now chairman, Jim Inhofe, who is here in the room in the back. And, you know, it's really an extraordinary thing because, as Jim will tell you, we just don't get along on any issues but this one. We never take it personally. We're so fond of each other and admire and respect our families. But on this issue, we have the same passion. And we know it's our responsibility. He finds it in the Constitution. He'll tell you about it. I'm not going to steal his words. And I find it everywhere I look, in statute, in the Constitution, and just in terms of what I view as a major responsibility to keep people safe and keep commerce moving, and all the things that you're all very aware of. With 58,000 structurally deficient bridges, Jim and I know that. We know that. And it breaks our heart. And with 50% of our roads in less than good condition, this has an impact. It has a monetary impact when you're trying to keep up your car. A normal average person cannot keep turning in cars. They have to keep them for years and years. And there are many deaths caused on our highways because we haven't done the right thing in terms of those railroad crossings and all the other challenges that we face in this great nation. So, you know, I always threaten to write I have written my memoirs. Jim, you're in it. In a fun way. But after my memoirs come out, I'm going to, I think, write a book called How a Bill Really Becomes a Law. Because the way we learn about it in school is quite different than the reality. What happened in this case is everybody wanted to have a highway bill. If you asked them, whatever their views, everybody wanted to have a highway bill. But people were paralyzed with fear. How would we pay for it? How could we get it done? So extension after extension. And to me, that's death by 1,000 cuts. And I used quite often, and AASHTO leaders know this, Jack knows it's heard me say it 100 times. If you wanted to buy a home and you went to the bank and they looked over your financial records, they said, Barbara, this is great news, you qualify, you have a good credit rating, we are giving you this mortgage for 6 months. Well, you're not going to buy the house. So whenever we would extend for 30 days or 60 days or even a year, it wasn't enough to give confidence to you that you could move forward and that you could count on the federal contribution. So we knew we had to push as hard as we could for a multi-year bill. So on June 24th, Jim and I said, you know, our leadership, they're just not paying attention. We're going to go forward. And Jim and I and our staffs, and we have some of them here, greatest staffs ever, warm working relationships. We got a bill together, and it passed 20 to nothing. 20 to nothing. And you were in on it every step of the way. You called recalcitrant Republicans, Democrats, Independents. Then you made sure that the House did its job. And then the funny story, and I'm nearing the end, because Jim said, "Are you going to talk too long?" No. But there is a funny story. I found myself in a very odd situation. I had to work with Senator Mitch McConnell. Now, that may not seem odd to you, but truly, we have had our run-ins years past. And we hadn't really talked except hi, Mitch, bye, Mitch, for 20 years. This is a fact. He'll tell you the same thing. So now we're thrown into a circumstance because of reasons that had to do with pragmatics. He had to help us find a pay for. And so I find myself now, Jim and I have been friends for years, but now I find myself with Mitch McConnell. And this was quite an experience for both of us. He actually said on the floor of the Senate, working with me was exhilarating and fun. Now, I would not go that far. But the result was amazing, amazing. And I'll close with the results, because I know you know them, but it's fun to see what we were able to do. The FAST Act. $305 billion for highway transit rail over the next 5 years. The longest surface transportation bill in 17 years. As Bush would say, Jeb, please clap. I mean, you should clap. This is history, and you're a part of it. And we'll see highway funding increase by 15%. Over 2015 levels, transit funding by 18%. No state will receive less than 95 cents on the dollar back. And Jim will probably talk about his favorite things that he got in the bill. I want to talk about two that mean so much, a couple that mean so much to me. Commuter railroads will install positive train control. We have $199 million to help them. This is critical, because I don't have to go over the crashes, the tragedy we've seen, because we've had these horrible crashes. In my state, I lost two beautiful young women in a car accident because a company leased out two cars that were under recall. Can you imagine sending your 21-year-old daughter or cousin or niece or nephew to rent a car, and they rent a car, and it blows up? And my constituent, the mom, and dad lost two girls. So we wrote the Rachel and Jacqueline Houck Safe Rental Car Act, and now when you go to rent a car, it will not be a car that's under recall. And that's really an important safety measure. And we continue the TIFIA program, which has a 30-to-1 ratio. When we have a state that has or a city or a county that has passed a sales tax, they know the money's coming in for years. They can go to the federal government, get a check, really no interest payments at all, and do the whole thing way quicker than they could. So those are my special babies in the bill that I care deeply about. But I will say this. Without AASHTO, and I'm not just saying it because you invited me here and you said nice things about me, I mean this. Without AASHTO, Jim and I wouldn't have had the wind at our back. And that goes for a lot of other organizations that worked with you, because we never, ever, ever gave up. And that's a lesson, not only here, but a lesson for life. Thank you, Jim Imhoff, for being my chairman and my friend. Thank you all for this invitation this morning. And enjoy.